Time now for Left of Lansing Monday Musing for March 10th of 2025. Last week, MAGA Michigan Republicans held a hearing in the State House voicing their support for a proposed amendment to the state's constitution that would bar married women from voting. State House MAGA Republicans referred to this amendment as safeguarding against voter fraud, which is virtually non-existent, but that's not the purpose of the bill. Now, this amendment would require those trying to register to vote to provide proof of citizenship. What kinds of documents would be needed for someone to provide this proof of citizenship? Well, I'm guessing that means a passport, for example. So, someone who's just trying to register to vote would have to pay over $100 to get a government-issued passport. And Michigan Democratic State Representative Matt Colzar-Livonia raised a question in this so-called House Election Integrity Committee hearing if this amendment is essentially a poll tax on voters. Well, the committee's chair, Brian Posthumus of Rockford, fired back at Colzar, saying it was offensive of what Colzar said, adding, quote, "I would say it's just an outright lie meant to derail my effort and impugn my character." Wow, Brian, why are you getting all defensive about the truth? And don't forget, Brian's living off his daddy's name within the MAGA Republican Party circles out in West Michigan, but I'm told he probably got there because of quote-unquote merit, but I digress. Now, you're probably asking, how would this amendment hinder the ability of married Michigan women from voting? And I'll explain. Over 2 million women in the state changed their last name after getting married. While these women would still be able to vote, they'd be required to give county clerks additional proof of identification if their current last name doesn't match the one on their birth certificate. That means married women in the state would have to pay more if they want to fulfill their constitutional right to vote. Just another example of how Republicans always fight to make voting harder for people. Now, the good news is that the amendment has zero chance of going anywhere, since 2/3 of the state house would have to vote in favor of it in order for it to reach the ballot, and MAGA Republicans only have a slim majority in the House, while Democrats hold the Senate majority, so it won't pass. But that's not the goal. The goal is to plant seeds of doubt over our electoral process, which has been a major plank in the corporate authoritarian takeover of our country, a takeover that MAGA Republicans love supporting, and it's also part of what MAGA Republicans are trying to do on the federal level with the so-called Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act. Republicans in Congress are attempting to pass a similar version, which also requires proof of citizenship while registering to vote. Again, this harms the voting rights of millions of women, since according to a Pew Research Center poll, 80% of women take their husband's name after marriage, and about a third of women don't have documents with their legal names on them. So this is all part of what the White Christian Nationalist MAGA Republicans believe must happen in order to grab complete governmental power. That's chipping away at the 19th Amendment. White Christian Nationalist Theobros are pushing for this because they believe men must have full domain over women, and that includes their right to vote. I mean, that's the main motivation for MAGA Republicans. It was never about lowering the cost of eggs or taking on corporate greed and corruption. It's about ripping away women's rights. leftoflansing@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. Subscribe to the podcast and also subscribe to Left of Lansing on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, the Gram, and Facebook. Take the battle to them.